I feel like it became a Danganronpa channel because nothing I post recently on my YouTube is just nothing but Dangan. I mean, there is the how I became a writer videos, but you know who's watching those. Salutations, everyone. I'm Nearby Koshi. Welcome to something different. So I have a review page. It's a review page I do on Facebook. It's called Nero Ice Reviews. I never changed the name in years. There's the other person, Ice. He doesn't go and review anything anymore. He used to review video games. Well, he only reviewed one video game, and that's it. and he also reviewed Ender's Game, and that was pretty much it. And he just left. It's still the name because, you know, I kept it. Not sentimental reasons. It's just that I just don't know a clever name to call it. Unless I find a replacement who can go and review movies with me. Anyway, so we're doing something different here. I am going to talk about movies that I have watched over the past few days. And the last review I've probably done was Us, and that was it. So right now we're gonna do a review of movies I saw recently over these past few days. I think we're gonna talk about 3 movies. It depends how much I go and talk about here, but I think I want to talk about only 2 today. Because I don't think I can say much about John Wick Chapter 3. I mean, what can I say about John Wick Chapter 3 Parabellum? It's Keanu Reeves in an action movie, the 3rd John Wick movie, and it's something that everyone already says. And I can just get over with it quick. I love the action movie. I love long cut action movies that are like perfectly choreographed and are shot well. I love those movies that are not shaky cammed, quick cut movies. Like, I hate those kind of movies. But there are a few exceptions, like, you know, Jason Bourne is one of them, but not the last one. The last one was just terrible. Well, I do love a good Liam Neeson movie that has some cool action. I do. Taken 3 is not one of them, because it took like 16 or 15 different camera angles or different shots of him climbing a frickin' fence. And I did count that they did 15 or 16 shots, and it was annoying. I don't know why they couldn't just do a long take shot where it's Liam Neeson running in one side and you quickly turn the camera and you replace him with a stunt double, and you just put him and you just angle the camera in a far direction where you don't see that it's clearly a stunt double running towards the fence, and see that person climb the fence in one shot. Like, I don't understand why they can't do that. I guess they had to say, no, we gotta make sure that people believe it's Liam Neeson climbing this fence. That's stupid, but let's not get over that rant. But I do love the action in John Wick 3. I loved the fighting. The story is simple. It's just him trying to survive his bounty, because he became excommunicado. And it has some great action scenes. Even this guy I know from the Food Network, he's in Iron Chef America. I can't remember his name, but he's one of the hosts of the game, and he announces what the special dishes that people have to cook, and he yells "Aïe cuisine" or something. And I did not know he's an actor, and he's also a damn good fighter, which is pretty cool, seeing him fight John Wick. I do love Halle Berry in this movie. I think this has been a well-received movie from both critics and audiences that Halle Berry has been in for years. Because I always felt that Halle Berry was movie poison. Like every time she touches a movie, it becomes bad. I always thought of that. And it happened with Kingsman: The Golden Circle. The Golden Circle's not a bad movie. I do enjoy that movie. I like it, but it's not as great as the first one. It's okay. I don't say that Halle Berry ruined the movie. It's just that the movie could have been better. And I felt that John Wick Chapter 3 was gonna be like, oh, Halle Berry's not gonna do a good job. They had to slow down for her because she can't do the John Wick training, which shocked me. In surprise, she did the John Wick training. She did learn how to fight. She did do the stunts, the choreography and shit. She also had to be training with the dogs. Like, she had to form a special bond with the dogs where she can give them commands to, like, you know, attack a man's balls and shit. And that was something pretty cool. I didn't know that she did the training, and she was pretty badass in this movie. I liked her in this film. She did great, and I applaud her for that. I really like. This is me applauding. This is me, because I can't applaud well because my hand is holding the mic right now. So yeah, that was pretty cool of a movie. I feel like I learned something in movies now, and that is like action exhaustion. Like, you get exhausted from all this intense action that you just start to get like tired of it. Like, okay, wrap it up. But I feel like that was their intention, because John Wick also gets tired in the movie where he's fighting the two bad guys from the Raid 2, which I was so happy to see those guys, because I love the Raid movies. I love the Raid 2. Those movies are awesome. Like, I think those are one of the movies that got me into the one-shot, like, action movies. Though, I did grew up in the 90s where people never did the shaky cam and always did the choreographed fight scenes. And I think The Matrix did those too. Well, no, they actually did. The Matrix actually did do those cool kung fu, like, fight scenes. And without The Matrix, there wouldn't have been no John Wick. I'm just saying. Hey, which reminds me, I wonder why they couldn't get Carrie-Anne Moss. She might have been busy doing Jessica Jones, so if they can get Carrie-Anne Moss in the 4th John Wick movie, that would be a full-on Matrix reunion. Like, that would be so cool, because if we already got Lawrence Fishburne, we need Carrie-Anne Moss in the next one. If you don't know who she was in Matrix, she's Trinity. But yeah, John Wick is a good John Wick Chapter 3 is a good movie. I thought it was going to be the final one. It isn't. And we're going to get more. So let's hope that this movie series ends soon, because I feel like they'll run out of ideas in the future, which I'm scared they will. I heard there's going to be a TV show that's going to focus on the assassin world. So that's a lot of hype to be excited for. Okay, like, that movie is good. I enjoyed it. I watched it in the theater. It's a pretty cool movie. I love the action. The knife scene was brutal. Like, it cringed over me, because usually in R movies or PG-13 movies where you see someone try to stab someone for the eye, it's usually quick. Like, they cut it away so you don't see the actual stabbing. You just see the knife or the sharp object into someone's eye or skull or something. This movie shows the whole thing. It shows John Wick stabbing the dude in the eye, and you see every detail, and that made me cringe, but made me applaud for them to actually go the extra mile in violence, which I thought was pretty cool. And yeah, all the stunts, all the action is great in the movie. The horse scene was awesome. The ninjas on motorcycles was fucking cool. I loved every single moment of it. I think it, like, topped a lot of things, but I don't think it could top the Chapter 2 fight scene in the museum where they're in the mirrors. because I feel like they mimicked that in Chapter 3. And Chapter 3 just felt so exhausting because they just kept throwing John Wick into glass cases, and I just felt like, come on, stop freaking dragging it, because they dragged it for so long, and I felt like that was a flaw. That was a total like downgrade in the movie that made me feel like the action just slowed down because of that. I was fine with John Wick being tired. He's getting exhausted. He's not. You could see that he is human and he has limits. But we didn't need to see a drag on him getting like thrown with through glass cases of expensive shit for like at least 2 minutes. That was boring. I was like, okay, you need to stop, movie. But yeah, the film is good. I think it's great. It also develops John more with his character, which I felt was cool. Yeah. So that's John Wick Chapter 3. So let's talk about a movie I saw recently before we get to the one controversial one, in my opinion, because I've heard a lot of mixed opinions on the last one I'm talking about. But let's talk about Godzilla, King of the Monsters. First off, I love that they made a cover song of the Blue Oyster Cult song Godzilla. If you don't know that song, I think that song was a meme or whatever back then in the old days of internet, and I remember hearing that song. Oh no, there goes Tokyo, go go Godzilla. And I thought that was pretty cool. Oh, the cover song was pretty cool. Even like these Japanese men going, ooh, huh, huh, ooh, ooh. It's like the Japanese version of Wakanda. Like, yeah, like I just love that. That soundtrack is awesome. Like they did the old theme songs to every monster. The theme song for King Ghidorah, Mothra. They even had the twins for Mothra, which was shocking. I was like, what the heck? Even the twins from the original movie, which was pretty cool. I enjoyed that. The movie, it's, as much as I like to say it, critics don't get it with, I feel like, I don't know what the critics didn't get about this movie. I don't know what it was. I don't know what the critics say. If the critics are saying it's just a mindless monster movie, I'm pretty sure those critics have not seen a Godzilla movie back then with the people in suits fighting. Like, I feel like no one understood Godzilla if that's what the critics are talking about. If they're talking about how the characters, the human characters were written and how they were portrayed, I say that they're correct. They are poorly written and underused. Like, they are not interesting at all. And as much as I like to say this, I like to say a lot of things about people making characters in movies. And what I hate about what people do with movies of these characters is that they don't give them a personality. They just give them an arc, like a character arc. Like, they're nothing beyond that character arc. Like, oh, I lost my brother, so my character arc is trying to let go of it and try to repair the relationship my parents had, because I feel like we have grown apart since the passing of my brother, because he died during the attack in San Francisco, where Godzilla had to fight the Mutos in the first Godzilla movie in 2014. And the mother's like, I'm doing this for my dead son, because I feel like I can save the world by having these monsters destroy shit, and then life will find a way. Yes, she's Dr. Ian Malcolm if she was insane. But and that's it. And the father's like, I need to have my daughter back, and I want to fix my care. I want to fix who I am and stop drinking, because my daughter is all I have left. My ex-wife can rot in hell for all I care. Basically what he's trying to say is that. But that's all they are. It's character arcs, and that's it. These characters only have an objective, and their objective is do this thing, and they succeed that objective. And you can say like, oh, that's any movie, Niru. Like, everyone has an objective, an objective in a movie. And yes, you're right. But that's the problem. The problem is that they have no personality outside of that. Like, we are facing monsters attacking us, and we are going through a problem that we can't get over. They don't have a personality around that. And Millie Bobby Brown, bless her heart, she is acting hard in this movie. Like, she is acting her heart out. She's a great actress, despite how little camera time she has. And I believe she has little camera time because I think this was during the same time she was still filming season 3 of Stranger Things, and it's understandable that that's why she has little camera time, because she's like, I gotta do this movie and I have to go back on the set to finish season 3 of Stranger Things. And I feel, and I was correct, because that's what she said in interviews. And she is doing her best, man. She is like, she is like the best actor in this whole movie, that doesn't crack one-liners, that doesn't do stupid jokes, or isn't like an exposition hound, like just barking out plot points. Which leads me to a line I hate in movies. I hate this in movies, and it makes sense because I hate this, because I barely hear this in movies anymore, because every scriptwriter knows that that's the worst line in movie history, and that is the "as you know" line. Like, someone would say "as you know," and then they'll say the plot, like, oh, this happened here, this happened there. And I hate that line, and I think Doug Walker said it best. If everyone knows about it and everyone has heard about it, why the fuck are you explaining it if everyone knows about it? There's a line in Suicide Squad. Yes, I'm using Suicide Squad as an example. That makes more sense than the "as you know" line. And this is when Amanda Waller's like, for those who don't know me formally, my name is Amanda Waller. And then she tells them what they have to do, what their objective is. Like, she says she knows that these people, that some of them do know why they're here, and what they don't know what their mission is. So she informs them, for those of you who don't know. That makes more sense than "as you know," because if there were people in the room that do know, but there's also people that don't know, you would say the lines, "for those of you who don't know," or basically like, "for those of you who are just joining us," or some shit like that, or something. Or just better yet, if the person doesn't know and he's just put into this shit, you don't call a meeting, you don't say it, you just brief them and say, here's what we know about the attacks and these people that kidnapped your family, and they'll show them like screenshots or message documents or something, not go up to the freaking like army and people in the media room like, hey, as you know, like no one says that in real life. No one says as you know in real life, and that's stupid. And I don't like that. It's a nitpick in movies, but seriously, if you're gonna write a script, if you're writing a story, never make those mistakes in writing. You do not say as you know, ever, in movies, because that is the worst type of writing. Because the as you know line is just there to explain to the audience and make everyone believe, oh, they already know this, but they're telling us to inform us, which is stupid, because if the characters in the movie know that the audience don't know, then they shouldn't be having that fucking conversation, and only tell it to the audience with a character that doesn't know, and then have a character that does know explain it to the person who doesn't know, because that person who doesn't know is very much in the dark as the audience is. That is better writing. But this movie doesn't have better writing, and that's why we have terrible jokes in the movie that felt forced and stupid. Like there's one line where one of the women, and she's Asian, where it's like locals call this monster Ghidorah or something, and one of the guys, the father from the cop from Super 8, that's the only movie I know that guy in. Oh, and Wolf of Wall Street. I forgot he was also in that too. He was like, Ghidorah what? And then the other guy's like, did she say gonorrhea? And I'm like, are you serious? You're making that stupid joke? And they just leave that joke away. And my theater had dead silence. No one laughed at that. Everyone was like, was that supposed to be funny? Like there was so many jokes in the movie that everyone in the theater was questioning, was that supposed to be funny? Like no one knew, because they kept making one-liner jokes and all that, and it was stupid. Even Ice Cube's son talks about, because Mothra is the queen of the monsters and Godzilla is the king of the monsters. And Ice Cube's son, O'Shea Jackson Jr. is like, so Mothra and Godzilla, they're like a thing? I'm like, please stop. Please stop. Stop joking like this. It's so dumb. It's so stupid. I just wanted to exit out the theater. No. That wasn't the scene where I wanted to exit out the theater. The scene where that wanted me to exit out of the fucking theater was this line where they're trying to find Godzilla and they saw him, and one of the guys are like, oh my god, and this guy is like, Zilla. Immediately, I was tempted to leave that fucking theater and say, can I have a refund? Because that line just was terrible. Like, that line was terrible. Like, someone says, oh my god, and like, some idiot has to come in and just end it with Zilla. Why? You didn't need to do that. That was like the dumbest thing you could ever do, is just say, hey, why don't I say this stupid line and see if it gets a laugh out of people? Yes, because that worked so well in Detective Pikachu. Oh god. Only Detective Pikachu had more fucking and had something better than this movie. Now, to be fair, both these movies had something good. It's just that they didn't have a good story to back it up. That is the problem, but the movie's story is so stupid, yet so entertainingly stupid. Because their plan is like, we have these monsters. We want them to fight and destroy cities so life can be restored on Earth so we don't face extinction. And that has to be the most dumbest plan ever. Because there might not be any survivors. And they find out that Ghidorah is not a species on Earth. Ghidorah is a freaking alien. And I'm like, what tipped you off? That Ghidorah doesn't breathe fire? Like a normal dragon? It breathes out fucking lightning out of its goddamn mouth? Godzilla's got blue fire breath. King Ghidorah's got like motherfucking like lightning, thunder and shit coming out of their three mouths, and it's awesome. Like, it's awesome. That's all I can say. It's freaking awesome. I could say like Mothra is awesome in this movie. She's beautiful. Like that Mothra is beautiful. She's a beautiful creature. I say she's the better looking of all the monsters in this movie. Like, Ghidorah looks evil, but he just looks like a three-headed Smaug. Rodan, he's just a dragon. That's also that burns everything he touches and shit. But Rodan's a bitch in this movie. Let me point that out. Rodan's a bitch in this movie. Like, he thinks he's hot shit every time. He thinks he's hot shit, like, I can defeat these assholes. Like, he fights King Ghidorah, and then when he couldn't defeat him, and he sees King Ghidorah burning this shit and destroying this village that's already been evacuated, Rodan is like already bowing to King Ghidorah. Like, he's like bowing to him like, may I sign your shoes, sir? That's a joke that Andre made in his review, and I love that joke because it does describe what Rodan is. And when Godzilla defeats Ghidorah, Rodan does the same thing with Godzilla. He fucking bows to him. Rodan's a bitch. He's basically the Starscream of this movie. He will bow to anyone just to survive. Jesus. God, he is so fucking... He's a pussy. But he's smart. He knows that, like, yeah, I'm defeated. I can't defeat this motherfucker. And you see all the other monsters, the other creatures in this monsterverse, and they're not that appealing like Ghidorah or Mothra, which I really hope Mothra like comes back alive in a big way, because I saw Mothra die in this movie. I'm like, oh, I hope they bring her back. And clearly they're gonna bring Ghidorah back also, because one of the heads survived. And I don't know if this was I don't know who this actor is. It's either Christopher Plummer or Rutger Hauer. I don't know. This actor looks like Christopher Plummer, and I don't know, but he's like, we'll take it. Because clearly this dude is so delusional, thinking monsters destroying the world will revive the world. And clearly that's wrong, because Ghidorah was gonna destroy the planet either way. And this movie is just awesome. It's awesome for the monsters. That's all I can say. The monsters, the music is freaking good too. Like, I can't even remember the theme song to the Godzilla 2014 movie. The 2014 movie had that song that goes dun 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 dun, and I was like, okay, I don't like it. And they used the original Godzilla theme, like dun 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 dun, and I love they used the original theme song and updated it, because we only had like the original Godzilla theme song from the old movie, and they haven't really updated that song in fucking years. And I'm glad that Bear McCree actually updated the song and put his spin to it, which is cool. I'm glad he did, because that song, I've always wanted to hear an updated version of it, and I'm glad we got it, including a Blue Oyster Cult cover song of Godzilla, which, ooh, I'm so happy. I'm so happy. I mean, even they got Surge on the lead vocals on this bitch, which is awesome. And I do have complaints of this movie. I do. Yes, the human characters are not interesting. They're just bland, and they're just flatter than wood. Like, I don't think they're good at acting at all. Millie Bobby Brown is probably one of the only good actors in this movie, because she is doing her best, at least, to carry this film, kind of. Her and Godzilla both. Like, the time when she saw Godzilla attacking Ghidorah, I just love that smirk on her face, like, yeah, shit's about to go down. Like, she is, like, so confident, like, I made the right choice to summon Godzilla here. No, I lied. Ken Watanabe, Sally Hawkins. Those two are good actors, but they both die in this movie, and they were in the first movie. Like, this is their second movie. We basically Batman v Superman them. In fact, King of the Monsters is basically Batman v Superman, only with fucking monsters. No, it really is. In fact, I think Batman v Superman and Godzilla King of the Monsters are practically the same movie. They practically are the same movie. They really are. Because the movie begins with the destruction of San Francisco, and you see the parents and Millie Bobby Brown, but as like a little girl, looking for the brother, for their son, and you don't see him, and then you realize the brother's dead. Like, he died in all that destruction and carnage in San Francisco, that everyone tried to save everyone in that city. And they just Batman v Superman it, because Bruce Wayne saw the destruction of freaking Metropolis and all the cities being destroyed, and Superman's like fighting Zod and shit, and people are getting killed and hurt. Some dude loses his legs and shit, and they did the same thing with freaking Godzilla, King of the Monsters. They Batman v Superman Godzilla, and Godzilla is the Superman in this story. And there's no Batman to stop him, except for the cop from Super 8. I'm gonna pause the recording. Okay. I'm back. Yeah, it's just basically Batman v Superman, but with Godzilla. I just realized that. Even they did the part where Godzilla dies, but he's not dead. You can resurrect him. So technically, it's both Batman v Superman and Justice League. Like, Jesus Christ. And King Ghidorah is your Steppenwolf. Oh my God. I don't know. This movie could have been better. I don't know. The weirdest thing I seen in this movie was Millie's laptop. She has like a bunch of fucking stickers on her laptop, and I noticed she had a fucking Rick and Morty one on her laptop, and I was like, oh, this character's into Rick and Morty. That's how you know what her character is like. No, we don't. You don't know who or what are people's interest in their movie. They're just introduced. I feel like the only people I had emotional connections to was Ken Watanabe. Because he had like this interesting character story where he lost his father in Hiroshima, but it wasn't because of the nuclear blast. It was because of some evil monster creature that killed his father or something in Hiroshima. And he has his like father's watch or grandfather's watch, I can't remember, that he talked about in the first Godzilla movie. And I felt so sad because he's like, he loves Godzilla because he sees him as a protector while everyone wants to kill him and destroy him, but he wants to show people that Godzilla is actually is actually on our side. And he tries his best to explain people that, but no one would listen to him. Even the first movie where he was like, let them fight, and they let them fight. Godzilla just burns fire breath into Amuto's mouth and kills him completely, which was the most badass scene in that movie. And he has to sacrifice his life because Godzilla has to recharge, and he needs like a nuclear like radioactive blast to make him revived and put him back to his full strength, which led to Ken Watanabe sacrificing himself. And then he goes up to Godzilla and say, sayonara, old friend, and then dies in the explosion, and Godzilla lives, and then you hear his theme song playing. And I thought that was the saddest thing. I almost teared up because he was like giving his all, like an A tier performance, or S tier to be fact. Ken Watanabe is really good. He is like too good for this movie. He had a scene in this movie where it was emotional. He had a line, I can't remember the line of the movie, but it was these wise words he said, and then it got ruined by a stupid joke where he's like, no, I read it in a fortune cookie. A very, very long fortune cookie. And I was like, Christ. Like, it was bad. I did not like that. That was just like an emotional moment where Ken Watanabe was being serious, and it got ruined by a terrible joke he made, which I don't know why they made it. They just said, like, needs more comedy. Let's put more comedy in this movie, which I didn't want. The comedy was just terrible. Like, there were no laughs at all in the theater. Not even for me. I was like, this is just bad. I just got done watching a terrible comedy film review that I was watching today. And somehow that movie gave me 1 or 2 or 3 laughs. And I don't like that movie. I hate that movie with all fiber of my being. And finally watching it for the first time, I only hated the first sketch. So that says a lot, you know. That says a lot about how this movie is bad. It still is. But anyway, like, Godzilla King of the Monsters tries to do its hand at humor. It fails. If you want to know how badly it fails, I laughed at the jokes in Breaking Dawn Part 2. Man, that was when everyone wanted to be like Avengers. Not only being an action movie, but also be a comedy. And that says a lot. I laughed at the jokes in Breaking Dawn Part 2. That says a lot. Which brings me to a fact. Do I hate the Twilight movies? No. I only hate the even-numbered ones. I don't like New Moon, and I don't like Breaking Dawn Part 1. Those are the only two I hate. Yet the first one is decent. Eclipse was actually pretty damn good. Part 2 was surprisingly entertaining, but maybe that's because I was desperate for anything because, Breaking Dawn Part 1 was just boring. Enough about that. King of the Monsters is great for its action. The monster fight scenes are great because I guess the director heard that everyone wanted more Godzilla fighting monster battles, and we got that. Only problem is, it makes me appreciate that Gareth Edwards was directing the first one, despite he had less Godzilla in that movie. He at least knew that he had to hold shots for more than a minute or two to show all the monsters fighting in this action scene and not focus on the human characters that much. This movie focuses on the action but can't hold a minute to see these monsters fight. They always have to cut back to the humans, which I feel like that breaks away the tension and action of the film. Like, I didn't give a fuck about these characters if they live or die because they're so uninteresting. Yet the perspective and scope when they're running away and destruction is happening in front of them where two monsters are fighting, that's pretty interesting. But honestly, a Godzilla movie to me is seeing these monsters fight, and we don't have to constantly look at the human characters all the time. You would sit a shot of them fighting for a bit before cutting back to the humans, because I feel like you start to notice how terrible it is when you see that the action is like in the foreground and you're not able to see it, which I feel like that was the major takeaway for me from this movie, is that they just keep cutting away from the monster battles. And I really wish there was more. I really do. Like, this movie had the potential to show more fighting, and they delivered on that a little bit, which I thought was awesome. And I enjoyed it. I enjoyed a lot of things in this movie where you see the monsters. Hell, the monsters are acting in this movie. Like, you see their reactions like, oh shit, and like in pain or sacrifice. Mothra stabbed the shit out of Rodan. Like, she had like a fucking like a bee stinger on her from her butt and just like stabbed the shit out of him. And I was thinking of Mad Max Fury Road, the scene where Furiosa goes and like takes Imogen Joe and grabs his mask with this spear, and she's about to pull it out to fucking rip it off to kill him furiously, and she just looks at him like, remember me. That's what I was thinking Mothra was, because Mothra had these like killer eyes, like these like I'm gonna kill a bitch eyes. And she looked at Rodan and just stabbed him, and she just looked at him, and her eye says a lot. And I was thinking of Charlize Theron in my head saying, remember me. And Jin just pushes him down, and then see him fall down, hurt and injured and killed, only to be alive in the next scene where he's being a bitch and then just bowing to Godzilla because he knows he can't defeat him. And that was awesome. I just loved everything about the monster fights in this movie, because that's what I really wanted. I just wanted to have a good time and see like Godzilla fight some monsters and then just do that, which I really hope that in the next one, Godzilla versus King Kong, that they deliver more and better and not focus on the human characters as much. They can focus them on a bit, but at least give them something more. Like, at least give them character development, not just, I'm a person that does things and types things on computers. I have exquisite knowledge in exposition so the audience will know about these monsters. And we're not going to talk about who we are because we are just a blank slate. We're only here for exposition and also our background as characters and such. And that's it. And that's just not good. That doesn't make the human characters interesting. You can see me in the theater looking at my phone, checking what time it is, like thinking like, how long do we have with these human characters? Because they're just not interesting. They're just bland and boring. If you're not Ken Watanabe, if you're not Millie Bobby Brown, then I'm not interested because you guys are just boring. And the saddest part is, they are the main focus, and Ken Watanabe and Millie don't talk that much in this movie, and it's just annoying. It's just, it's not good. It's not good. This movie has great moments when the monsters fight, but when it comes to the actual story, it's stupid. But you accept the stupid because you know what? You would have any excuse to see these monsters fight. But if you at least have the decency to make better human characters, then maybe I would give a damn about your human characters. But I don't. The only emotions I had was for Ken Watanabe. I didn't give a single fuck that Millie's mother in this film was sacrificing her life to go and save Godzilla. Because she barely had any character development. She's just, I'm here, and I think the world needs to survive by having monsters destroying it. And that's it. You don't know much more about her. It's just character motivations. That's it. There's no personality in these characters. They're just objects to Godzilla and the monsters to move the plot around, to give them a reason to live and give them a fighting chance. That's all what they're there for. They're just items, like inventory items for these monsters to have to escape or destroy shit. Like, that's it. And that's not, I don't like that. Yeah, sure, it's cool to see the monsters fight, but for me, I'd rather have a better story, better character development, all that. And I don't get it in this movie. I just get bland. And that's what kills the movie. The movie focused more on thinking like, we need Godzilla to fight, we need Godzilla to do this and that, we need to move this along with our monster verse films so we can get to the good shit. And that's it. They don't take the time to develop these people. They don't take the time to give them any sort of background that makes them interesting, or a personality, if you will, about these people. It's just, what do you feel? What pain do you have? Why are you hurt? And why are you still attached to this? And what is your motivation? They don't say, they just do it. Because that's what they would do? Like, you don't know what their personality is. You don't know if they're defiant. You don't know if they're helpful, positive, or social, or whatever. You don't know it. I know that people should show, not tell. But the saddest thing is, they don't do either. They just explain. And that's not good. You don't say like, oh, who is she? What's she like? You just say, what happened? They talk about the what, they don't talk about the who and why and where. They just say what. Like, what is that? What is this? Who is that? Like, what is this? Like, where are they? Like, it's all they do. It's expositional nonsense, and that's just it. And yeah, I don't like King of the Monsters as much. I like it as a good popcorn film where you get to see Godzilla beat the shit out of monsters and burning the shit out of King Ghidorah, making him just one-headed Ghidorah. But that's it. It's a fun movie when you see the action, but the sad part is that there's not a good set of human characters in this movie that can back up this film and make it worthwhile. That's the saddest part about this movie. So, leading to that, let's talk about Pokemon Detective Pikachu.
Huh? Really? That's annoying. I guess I should just awkwardly laugh about it then. Heh. Heh. Heh.
You've been chosen.